downloaded faith is a faith that or downloaded relationship, if you will, with God is it causes a change. Actually, let me push it. Not a change, but a conversion. There's a difference between a change and a conversion. See, streaming faith would only create change, meaning that I will only look like I'm good to go. Yeah. Yeah, in other words, I'll give you the impression and the image that what I used to do before, I don't do anymore. No, I just ain't caught you. That's really what it is. See, that's just a change. See, whenever you only have a change in your life, then you put on a mask and you make certain that whoever you're going to be with, you switch up those masks so that they won't know that you really didn't have a conversion. You just had a change. But when you have a conversion, there's some things on the inside that you don't do like you used to do. Yeah. See, the major difference when it comes to the difference between change and conversion, streaming and download, is really our mindset. There are many people that claim they come to church because they want to change or they want to be converted. But the truth of the matter is, they've already made up in their minds before they came in through those doors. There's some things I ain't going to change. There's some things I'm just not going to give up. There's some things just too good to me to let go and let go. I'll make you think I'm changed. I'll make you think I'm different. But there's some things that I'm just not going to change my mind on. There's some things I'm just going to be, in some ways I'm going to be until I die. And whenever we refuse to convert and we only make changes, then you will find that the faith faith that we advertise with regard to our love for God becomes something that is in question in regards to how true it really is. See, whenever we're only trying to make changes and not really trying to convert, there are some people who know you and then they see you as being hypocritical, and there's some people that really don't want to spend time with you because see, they know you better than other folk may know you. And whenever we get around certain people, they start putting on the change. But there's some people that know you ain't really like that. You just putting on to impress folk. But you see, I know where you go after hours. I know what you're still up to. You may have fooled them, you may have fooled him, you may have fooled her, but you ain't fooled me. I know what you're thinking. I know what you. That's because you're only trying to make a surface change. Matter of fact, I'll be honest with you. There's a commercial that I hear on the radio about a dentist who is warning people who are getting their teeth bleached and getting their teeth whitened. He's warning them because he says you get your teeth bleached, get your teeth whitened, and it looks like your teeth are healthy. And because it looks like your teeth are healthy, then you don't get checked out the way you need to get checked out. And your teeth might be white, but underneath you may still have the plaque. You may still have disease or bacteria in between the teeth. But because you're looking in the mirror and you seeing how shiny they look, you don't really take care of the stuff that's deep down. You just had a surface change. You ain't had no deep change. Your breath still stink with all that white teeth that you share. It's still the same. Matter of fact, speaking of breath, you can even apply it to that. You ever give somebody Tic Tac or some mint and all that and want them to use it at that moment because they're struggling, and even if they are kind enough to take that mint and use it at that moment, let me tell you something, that mint gonna run out after a while, and while your breath may be pleasant for a while, after a while the stank gonna come back because it may have changed in the moment. But a true conversion when you go brush your teeth, a true conversion when you floss. See, I don't know if I should have said that because somebody probably needs some conversion right now. Sitting on the road. So I'm saying this because the objective for this is this message tonight is for us to be serious, not so much about our change, but our conversion. And so one of the ways that we're able to be serious about our conversion is by identifying what are some clear traits, what are some attributes that would signify that we've been truly converted. So looking at Paul serves as a great example of what a true conversion looks like. And so those who don't know who Paul is or Saul Saul was he was a Pharisee. He was a deeply pious and committed and devout Jew. He believed in Torah. He believed in the God of Torah. He believed in the God of the Old Testament. And now that this new movement was beginning to flourish, where there were those Jews who were beginning to follow Jesus Christ because Jesus Christ was referred to as the Messiah. This was a major problem with the Jewish religion. They saw this as a major threat, and Paul was on the tip of the spear to try to address this split, this division in faith. And so he sought to find anybody who claimed to be of the way, anyone who claimed to be following after Jesus. Paul's objective, Saul's job was to arrest that individual, bring them back to Jerusalem, and have them stand trial, which ultimately would have ended in them being stoned to death. Saul was serious about his job. Saul was committed about doing it because he felt like what he was doing was for God. And so here Saul was so committed that he actually asked for letters of authority from in Damascus, from the Jewish temples in Damascus. He was asking for authority so that he might go and come to Damascus and start to terrorize folk who were of the way. He wanted to search out men, search out women, search out families, anybody who is getting in the way of our religiosity, anybody getting in the way of our Jewish tradition. He wanted to stamp out for the sake of Christ, for the sake of God. He wanted to stamp it out in order to maintain the integrity of what he believed. And so while he was traveling on Damascus, the text says that this light shined around Paul. It was Saul. It was so bright that it caused him to fall to the ground. And his light was so bright that it took his sight. And in the midst of his blindness, he hears the voice of Jesus Christ calling his name, saying, Saul, Saul, why are you doing what you're doing? You're wasting your time. You think you hurting folk, but really, you just wasting your time. And it was then that Paul started to experience his conversion. One of the first questions he asked is the first thing that we realize emerges whenever you've been truly converted. And that is this, that he began to challenge the integrity of his personal conviction. I know that's a lot of words. It's a whole lot of words, and added up equal about $1.50. But I'm trying to unpack that. He challenged the integrity of his personal conviction. See, Saul thought he was doing God's bidding. Saul thought he was doing the will and the work of God. He was following after what the Lord has called him to do. He thought he was doing it right because he was so committed to the religious way of things. Mm-hmm. See, we grew up in a time whenever we thought that the right thing to do is what the church says. Yeah, and unfortunately, we discovered that sometimes the church's rules and laws and traditions have a way of getting in the way of really hearing God. Some people feel as though you can't hear God unless you come to church with stockings on. Some people feel like you can't really hear with God unless you're sitting at a certain row. We have a tendency of allowing church and religion to get in the way of sincere relationship with God. And so whenever Christ spoke to Saul, Saul's first response to Christ was, Lord, who are you? I like that. Because what Paul was trying to figure out is, I thought I knew who you were. I thought I knew who God was and what God wanted me to do. But after hearing your voice, after seeing your light, after being brought down to the earth, I realized that what I thought is not who you are. Understand what I mean when I say that we have to challenge the integrity of our conviction. See, many of us only believe God because of what our mamas and daddies told us so many years ago. We've been passed down generations of what we've been taught, what has been told to us, and we don't even begin to examine God for ourselves. We try to praise God like mama praised God, shout like daddy shouted, read because the pastor tells us to read, but at some point I got to know God for myself. I can't know God the way my pastor knows. I got to know him for me. I can't know him the way my daddy knew. I got to know him for me. Some of us don't have a personal relationship with God. Some of us only spread what we've been told and what we've been taught. And we don't ask no questions. We just follow that same ignorance and we carry it down from one generation to another generation to another generation. See, the God I serve knows me personally. The God I serve, just like he knew Saul, he knows my name. And the God I serve, because he knows my name, I got to know him for myself. I got to know him with all my nakedness, with all my blemishes, with all my passion, with all myself. I got to know him for me. I can't come to church trying to be somebody I'm not. But why is it that we try to live our faith as if we are wanting validation from other people? We live more for other people than for God. Because the truth is, whenever we live just for God, then it don't matter what other people got to say. Because people going to say what they going to say. They're going to like you today. They're going to hate you tomorrow. They're going to talk about you now. They're going to lift you up, going to trip you up. Doesn't really matter. But whenever you know God for yourself, you can call me what you want to call me. That doesn't matter so long as my God knows my name. Saul needed to examine his faith, his religiosity, his theology. He had to examine who are you, God? I thought I knew you, but apparently I don't. Because the way you talk to me, the Torah can't talk to me like that. The way you knocked me down, Judaism can't do that. There's something different. So he says, Lord, who are you? And Jesus let him know, I'm Jesus, man. I am what everybody else was trying to tell you about. And so, and just even really quick, just put a pin there. Understand this. Jesus, the first question that Jesus asks Paul is what triggered Paul's response of, Lord, who are you? Jesus did not knock Paul down and ask him, Paul, what are you doing? That's what we normally would have done. We would have said, what you doing? What are you doing? That's not what Jesus asked. Jesus asked, why are you doing it? So part of how we are able to examine the integrity of our conviction is to ask why we do what we do. Why is it so important that we got to wear white on Missionary Sunday? I'm not saying it's wrong, but if I don't have something white to wear, am I going to hell? There are so many things that we do in the name of Christianity, in the name of Christ, that has no meaning, no purpose. We don't ever ask why, but we keep on doing. Matter of fact, here's one thing. Y'all remember, y'all know the Baptist excuse? Some of the old members may know. Y'all know the Baptist excuse is? Baptist excuse? Yeah, some of y'all know. When you're in the service, you got to go to the bathroom. You have that Baptist excuse. I guess, I don't know what that is. Maybe it's a lightning rod. Maybe you're trying to get God's attention while you're going to the back. I don't know. But it comes from slavery. It comes from slavery. We had to ask for permission to be excused from a gathering which the master is in charge of. And so we would say, Master, got to go to the bathroom. Master, got to go to the bathroom. But we have adopted it as a common practice. And not only have we adopted it as a practice, but we make it sacred. We even teach our ushers, don't you dare let nobody out unless they got that finger up. I mean, there's so many things that we do in the name of religion that we have no reason for why we do it. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do it. It's just that we should ask why. That's how we begin to challenge the integrity of our personal convictions. Am I doing it because I've been told? Am I doing it because that's how we've always done it? Or am I doing it because this is what thus says the Lord? Saul said, Lord, who are you? And Jesus proceeds to tell him who he was. And then here's the second thing that Saul asks Jesus, which is the second way that we can tell if we've been truly converted. You know that you've been truly converted not only when you begin to examine the integrity of your theology or your conviction, but you know that you've been truly converted when you are willing, or whenever you, let me even pull that back, not willing, whenever you give up your will for God's will. Saul's next question he asks Jesus is that, Lord, what you want me to do? I mean, I got plans. I got schedules. I'm supposed to be meeting the rabbi up there at Temple Bethel there in Damascus. We're supposed to be having some lunch, and we're going to be talking about how we're going to round up all the Christians, and we're going to arrest them, and you're going to tell me all the little secret places to find them. Yeah, I got some plans. But Lord, after my encounter with you, I just want to know, Lord, what you want me to do. I know what I'm supposed to do, but God, not my will, but your will be done. Whenever you've been truly converted, you start realizing it's not about my ego. It's not about my reputation. It's not about the recognition that I get, but rather it's about doing the work of the Lord. In other words, whenever you've been truly converted, you don't come to church holding your gifts hostage. You don't come to church sitting down on your talents. You don't come to church waiting for folk to stroke your fur and to give you props and accolade before you serve them. Whenever you are sincerely converted, when you're serious about the work, you say, Lord, use me wherever you want me to go. If you want me to be an usher, then let me be an usher. If you want me to be a custodian, then let me be a custodian. It's not about my attention. It's not about all the accolade I get, because I live that you may be glorified. Lord, what you want me to do? What's interesting about this is that when Saul responded back to Christ, he didn't give a litany of reasons of why he can't do or why he's not available to do what the Lord wanted him to. He didn't say, Lord, I would, but I done got old now. Maybe you can do it. Maybe you should call someone else who's younger. Because I'm trying to get out of the way and let these young people take over. Can I say something with that, Pastor? Y'all know you're lying. I know, hey, I'm sorry. But listen, if that hurts your feet, get some new shoes. I'm here all week. We talk about how we want to step aside, let the young people take over because, we can't do this. And as soon as a young person step up to want to take over, we just, we don't do things that, no. You may ask, how does that happen? Why do people respond that way? Well, I believe because a lot of us, we don't really serve for the right reasons. Paul or Saul, whenever he wanted to know what the Lord wanted him to do, he had to remove his ego so that he can receive what God's got. There are a lot of folk that's receiving what God's got with the ego right there. And so what happens is that they do God's will if it's convenient. They advertise God's will if it fits within their schedule. so long as it's comfortable for me, so long as I'm going to get some recognition, then therefore I will just be used by God like a vessel. I'm just a vessel. I'm just a vessel. But whenever you remove your will and you realize it's not about you, it's not about who knows your name, it's not about how much you're going to get paid, it's not about if you're going to get invited back, it's not about whether people going to like you, it's not about if people going to receive you. Whenever you decide in your heart that I want to do it God's way, then you start taking on the same disposition that Jeremiah had when he said he was going to sit down on the Lord. Oh, but when he tried to sit down, the love that he had for God, the conviction was too great. He said it was like fire shut up in his bones, and he couldn't stand still. It's amazing to me the many people that claim to have a relationship with God, but yet no appetite or desire to serve him. They only have enough of a change to do just enough, but they haven't been converted to really do a miracle. They haven't been converted to make an impact. They haven't been converted to really bring through or reveal God's work in this place. If we're going to be truly converted, it's going to require that we be willing to remove ourselves from the equation and let God have his way in us, that we must embrace the desire to do what it is that God has called us to do. Some of us may be scared because God is calling or speaking to you, and you're thinking, I don't have the education. I don't have the wealth. I can't do that. I can't do that, God. I'm a woman. I can't do that, God. I'm a man. I can't do that. I'm too young. I can't do that. I'm too old. I can't do this. I can't do that. But understand, if the Lord called you, he will equip you. If the Lord has put it on you to do, he will make certain you got everything you need to get it done. Just trust in him and surrender and say, Lord, what would you have me do? That's when you're truly converted. See, when you're truly converted, you question the integrity of your conviction. When you're truly converted, you remove your ego and your will so that you can do what God's called you to do. But I like this. Here it is. The text says that after they had their conversation, after Jesus and Saul were waxing, and they were talking and communing and conversing, the text says that when Saul got up and he opened his eyes, he saw nothing. So therefore he was blind. He was in darkness, and he couldn't see anything. It's clear, perhaps maybe the light may have blinded him. Whatever may be the case, his eyesight was no longer active. His eyesight was no longer functioning. And so for 3 days, until he hooked up with Ananias, he was traveling in darkness. Here he was having to be led whenever he was used to leading. He was having to follow whenever he was used to being in charge. He was blinded only for until he met with Ananias and agreed to do what thus says the Lord, that he was able to see again. And I've come to realize that when we've been truly converted, not only do we question the integrity of our conviction, when we've been truly converted, not only do we move aside our ego and we let God have his way, but here's the good news. Whenever you've been truly converted, you learn how to walk by vision and not by sight. I ain't hearing. Let me break it down with you. Let me let you know. You see, Paul was in darkness, but he really wasn't blind. I mean, he couldn't see, but he can see better than how he used to. I'm trying to make this plain. You see, Reverend, there's a difference between vision and eyesight. Eyesight is connected to the brain. Eyesight tells us what we're looking at. Eyesight connects with our logic and our intellect and our rationality or rational abilities, and tells us this is what we're looking at. It pulls information from our memory to ensure that what we're looking at is what we're looking at. And ultimately, that's eyesight. That's that's the sight that we all walk by. If we can see it, then we can believe it. If we can see it, we can walk it. And that's all good and well. But when you've been converted, your eyesight upgrades. When you've been converted, God downloads in you a different app where you can see beyond eyesight and you use your vision. What vision is that even when I see trouble, vision shows me the other side. Even when I see problems, vision shows me God's promise. Even when I'm in the dark, vision becomes my light. Vision shows me that he will order every step I take, every move I make. It may look bad right now, but you live by vision. God will make a way out of no way. When you walk by vision and not by sight, God will fight every battle. God will open up every closed door. God will move every mountain. God will give you strength, give you power, wonder-working power. When you've been converted, when you've been changed, when you've been renewed, God will say it. We need to be converted, not just changed. But I remember coming from the mouth of that prophet of justice. I remember him whenever he was speaking about change many years ago, long before I was even born. Some of you may know him. Some of you may have heard of him. Being in church, we dare not utter or speak of those names because it tends to go against what we're used to. But I have come that when I preach this message, when the Lord allows me, I try to invoke this man's name. I don't have to tell you his name. I just sing one of his songs. I was born by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like that river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know a change gonna come.